Welcome to Beading with Machi Wapak Winyum. I'm your host, Lydia Sturby. So today we're going to be making this beautiful purple floral fringe earring. And in your kit you would have received a baggie of white beads, a baggie with the colorful beads inside, and I've already separated out the metallic pinks that go in the center of the flowers and the brighter purple that go around those. And then the rest is regular purple, green, and then a golden chrome, which I just put along the bottom just to add a little bit of extra flair. You don't have to do that. It's not in the pattern. As well, you would have received a bobbin of white thread, a heart made out of beeswax that you can rub your thread through if it starts to fray. You'd also got a needle in a piece of felt, and 2 hooks with stoppers, and 2 of these wire guards. One's already on the first one. So to get started, you're going to take an arm and a half of the white thread. So I pinch it in between 2 fingers, extend out my arm, and I'm actually going to go, instead of just to the opposite shoulder, I'm going to go to the my opposite elbow, just to make sure I have enough to do my whole top piece in one step, so I don't have to worry about it again. And what we're actually going to do is we're going to start with our ladder stitch, and we're doing a double drop brick stitch on top of that, so our ladder stitch is also going to be a double. So I'm actually going to pick up 2 white beads and then 2 green beads, and if I slide that all the way down, I'm then going to go all the way back through all 4 again from the same direction I went through them the first time. So I make this little loop. Let me see if I can focus. Make this little loop, and then I'm going to pull them tight so that they're sitting next to each other. Okay. After that, we have 2 more white beads, and we always want to chase our tail. So we're going to go down towards the bottom, and that's going to force those white ones. We want to make sure they're beside us. So right now I'm coming out the 2 bottom, or the bottom of the 2 green beads, and if I was to add more beads here, it would either have to go before or behind, but we want to go across. So we're actually going to come back out the last 2 white beads we just put on, and now I'm coming out the top. So my short tail is out the bottom left, my working string is out the top right. Now I'm free to add more beads on. So the next 2 are green, and I'm going to follow my tail up this way, and those will sit right beside, and I'll come down those. I'm going to work my way across all 15 of the ladder stitch, and then I'll come back and show you how to do the brick stitch. Okay, so I've made it all the way to the end, and so you will have noticed that when you're doing the weaving, and it's almost like an infinity sign through there, every other time you're coming out the top or the bottom. So you'll have to make sure when you're doing these ones here that they're done in the correct order, like putting the right bead on at the right time. Okay, in a double drop, we are still working 2 beads at a time. And so my pattern calls for 2 white ones. And so in between each of these, you're going to have a little piece of thread connecting those 2 beads together. So I'm just putting my needle under those 2, under the thread between the 2. I'm going to pull it tight. And now I want to go from the opposite, so the bottom of those beads, but now my beads are flipping. So I want to go from the bottom of the beads back out the top. And what that's going to do is it's going to force my beads to sit like donuts on a plate. If you feel like they're not sitting flat like donuts on a plate and they're trying to stand up like a tire, you've gone through the wrong side. So there, I've got 2 beads sitting in between my 2 sets of 2. And that's why we call it a brick stitch, because it's kind of the off-centered pieces like a brick wall. Okay, so I'm going to grab 2 more white, go under that little thread. Now this one usually sits a little bit better because those ones are there to keep them standing a bit. And then come back up and pull it tight. And there we go. So I'm going to work all my way back to the left, right, and all the way until I get to that 15, 16. Okay, I've done my top row, which is a last row of 8 sets of white. And so to add on my wired guard in the middle, I'm actually going to weave my way back through the white top row. So I'm coming out the top left, I'm going to go down the one right beside it, up, down, oops, down, and now I'm going to come up the 5th one. And from here, I'm going to put my needle in one side of the horseshoe, the wire guard, down the other side, and down column 4. And now make sure that the thread actually sits in the wire guard. And now I'm going to go back up the column 5, the 2 beads, and through the wire guard, and then back down and through 4. And make sure my wire or my thread is in the wire guard. Okay, so now I'm done that top, but I want to get rid of my extra string. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go down 2 more, up next to it, those 2. Oops. Okay, and let's go down and up 1 more time. And so what that does is I've created a big loop in there, and it should be enough to keep it from coming apart. And then just cut as close as you can, and voila. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck in that tail. Sorry, my string got stuck. Okay. So, I'm just going to thread this. Now I'm just going to tuck in my tail from the very beginning there. So I'm going to thread my needle, and I'm going to go up these 2 greens, and then the 2 whites. Of course my thread is quite small. I'm going to come down the 2 white beside there. And it's 2 white again. We're going to go back up. Okay, so our next move is to get another longer piece of thread. And so this time I do a wingspan, so fingertip to fingertip. And that's because the less times we have to start and stop in a fringe, the better it will be for us, the easier it'll be. So you're going to grab yourself some white thread. Like I said, I go fingertip to fingertip because you use it quite quickly in the fringe. I'm going to switch to a longer needle. You don't have to. Okay, and this is my left side. So how I ended off my last string, I'm going to start again and weave my way out to be out the far side. Okay. When I pull, everything is tight. So I'm just going to get rid of that tail already because I already did a full around. Okay, so now you're going to put on all of the first fringe all at once. So that's everything I need for my pattern. But again, I've added this extra little metallic bronze or metallic gold on the very bottom. So this is going to be my last bead, the one that's going to hold it all together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up this entire fringe. So all I've skipped is the metallic bead. If you weren't adding the metallic bead, you would just skip the last white. Don't go back through it, otherwise you're just undoing everything you've put on. And as you can see, even with a longer needle, I have to do it in multiple steps. So it doesn't matter how long your needle is. Yeah, I still have a loop, so I'm going to hold the bronze bead and just pull from the top. And we're going to play with our tension a little bit later, because if you keep it too tense, it's not going to be floppy enough, but you don't want it so you have big pieces of string sticking, showing. Otherwise, it's not going to look as nice. You want them to all line up if you can. And so I'm going to just keep doing that for as far as my thread will take me, and then I will pause the video and show you how to add more string. So I just noticed that I'm missing a bead in my 5th fringe. So I slid off my bronze bead, and all I have to do is come back to where I'm missing a purple bead. I'm going to leave the rest here, so hopefully I can try and just slide them back on in order. And then I'll keep going. Okay, so I've made it 9 in, and I'm running out of enough string to be able to come down and back up again. So I personally don't like adding thread in the middle of a fringe. So what I'm going to do now that I've come back up through that ladder stitch is I'm actually going to just tie off up in the top like we did before and start a new string to finish off my last fringes. Now before I cut this, I should have showed you that I made sure all my tension was where I wanted it. They're nice and floppy and they'll hang really nicely together. I'm still not happy with this one. It's a little bit shorter, but I'm going to count that as my spirit. I've got a spirit bead because nothing is perfect but the creator. So now I'm just going to prep another piece of white thread and continue on. Okay, so I've finished off all my fringes. And if I kind of roll them like Play-Doh snakes, it helps to play with the tension. I'm going to work my way up a couple of rows here and then do my final tie off by making a full circle in a set of 4 twice. And I can cut this. Now my last part, I had just enough white beads with 2 wonky ones put aside. I had one of the purple left over, and then extras of all the others, so I will have to make sure I add some extra into each of the kits. Now my last step is to attach my hooks. So you have 2 options. Do you want them to face the same way, or do you want them to face the opposite? I very much prefer that they are opposite of each other. So sometimes you might find threads showing a little bit more on one side, but thankfully this was white thread with white beads, so we won't get that so much. Pop this on. I'm just using a pair of thin round nose pliers to open this up. Some people put a little bit of crazy glue there and then push the ball back down so that it stays where you want it and there's less chance of your hook opening up at the bottom. As long as you've closed it good, you should be okay. And that is my floral fringe earrings. Marcy, thank you for joining me.